Hello all, welcome to another episode of DirectShifts Stories. And today we have one of our special guests, Dr. Najmun Riyaz, who is a psychiatrist, mental health coach, who is also a writer and speaker. Dr. Najmun Riyaz had allowed me to use her first name, so thank you so much, Najmun. So she had been practicing psychiatry for over 23 years. She worked in private and academic settings. She had been treating clients with psychiatric disorders, addiction issues, be it anxiety, depression to trauma. So for all the frontline workers or for employees who are working in the healthcare world, be it in terms of healthcare staffing, recruitment, or for the general public too. This being an mental health awareness month. In fact, there was Mental Health Action Day, which happened on 20th of May. Let's hear from Dr. Najmun Riyaz on what exactly is mental health awareness. How do we create, overcome the stress which is there in our work from home lives? What's affecting the trauma? How do we deal with pandemic parenting for all the healthcare workers, again, for all the clinicians out there who are on our platform? This would be an awesome, resourceful podcast for next 30 to 45 minutes. And I invite Sneha, one of our colleagues, to take over from here. Welcome, Dr. Najmun Riyaz. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raj. I appreciate you having me, and I would love to, help individuals as much as I can. This is a tough time, so anything that can help people out there. Thank you.
Welcome to our show. And so since this is Mental Health Awareness Month, could you please tell us what your definition of mental health is and what it means to you? Yeah.
Well, yes, Neha, it's, I think this pandemic has taught us many things. The most important thing I feel this pandemic taught us is how important it is for us to take care of our mind, of our thoughts, of our thinking, of our behavior. I know prior to this pandemic, everyone was just so busy in this rat race. We're all so busy in, being successful, getting great jobs. We are pressurizing our children to get great grades, headed for awesome colleges. We take travel vacations. We go join expensive gyms, and we want our bodies to be fit and perfect. We look for that amazing and awesome dresses, which are like the best in the town, that beautiful jewelry. So we were all so busy having fun up until this pandemic shook all of us. Sneha, we humans, we just have this innate feeling or an instinct to control things. We want to control stuff in our lives. We want to control our environment. But when some things happen in this world, they teach us that in reality, how little control we have. And that pandemic is what taught us that. Because we lost control, the virus, we couldn't see it. It affected us in so many ways. It made us sick. No matter how hard we tried to maintain social distance, put a mask, but it affected us. And you're seeing even now in India how serious this virus is, how it is making people, children, adults, families devastated. And same thing happened with the entire world. So we humans got this lack of control, this loss of control. And what did it do to us? It created a state of frenzy. It created an enormous state of stress. We were so scared for our lives. And for a little moment, we forgot about how beautiful our homes are. What are we going to eat for dinner? What jewelry am I going to get? What outfit am I going to wear? And all of a sudden, we started paying attention to our bodies. And we noticed that what is happening inside us. So it sort of gave us a little more awareness. And in fact, that is an answer to your question, that is what your mind is. That's what your mental health is. Your mental health is how you perceive things, how you behave, how you act, how you react to disappointments, to challenges that life can throw at you. So I think when things are going okay, we're probably okay, but it's important that we be prepared when things do not go okay, when things are not going well. And I think that time it's really important to look at our own mind, at our mental health, to have healthy coping skills, to understand what is important in our lives, to prioritize things so that next time any such thing like a pandemic happens, we will be prepared. Next time we have a sickness of a child, a grief in our family, a loss of a job, we will be able to handle it in a better way. So I'm happy that May is the mental health awareness. And I think this is a chance and the time for us to speak to folks that, hey, taking care of your bodies is good, but you just have one mind. And that mind is where all your information is, who you are, how you, as I said, how you react, how you respond, what is your personality? How do you set up goals? What do you want for your family? How do you interact with your spouse, your children? It's just that little computer inside your body that has all your information. So why would you not want to take care of that? So absolutely, yes. And today should be a mental health day, and we should bring some.
That's the most simplistic and one of the beautiful ways which you have put it, Dr. Riyaz. Again, thank you, Najmun. That's awesome. That's probably a short crash course on what mental health means. And probably a child can easily understand that, be it a 5-year-old or a 90-year-old can easily will be able to digest what you have mentioned. In fact, many people think mental health is all about pumping in some music or playing rock music or dancing or probably just going on a vacation or a long drive. But those are all the probably kind of activities, but we'll hear more of what you mentioned. But before Sneha shoots another question to you, I just wanted to know, how did your journey begin? I mean, you come from the healthcare field. You've been a doctor from Kashmir, India. So could you please share us your journey? Probably what Najmun had done during her schooling, what made her shift her career into becoming a doctor? Why not become another author? I understand that you're a writer, speaker, being a physician, but could you please share us your journey from being a child to what you are today with in terms of being a physician?
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks, Raj. I don't get to ask that question that much, and I'm also a little bit of an introvert, but, through my blogs, I have actually shared a lot about my personal life, about my personal journey. And I think I really feel like as a psychiatrist, if we're not able to show our clients our human side and show them that we have ups and downs and we have challenges, then I think, we may not be setting some good examples. So yeah, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. As you know, I was born and raised in Kashmir. And, Kashmir, it's just this gorgeous, beautiful place. And throughout my childhood, things were really well in Kashmir. We all used to live, there was diversity. We had Pandits, or the Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs, and everyone lived with love. There was so much of affection between every single community. I'll give you a little example of my childhood. My best friend was a Hindu. We both used to go and sit in a school bus, and we used to reach a little hill. On the top of the hill was a temple. And on the bottom of the hill was a Sufi mosque. And both of us, when the bus would go through that spot, both of us closed our eyes. My Hindu friend would hold her hands and she would pray to the temple. And
Wow.
I, being a Muslim, used to hold my hands like this. And I would pray to God, and we probably prayed to the same God, but I prayed when I reached to that mosque. And this was our amazing connection that she and me had, that every single day in the morning, the school bus would go through that spot, and we both prayed in that particular moment. I mean, that connection is amazing. And it was so sad when there was the Hindus left the state, and some of our best friends and some of our teachers left the state. It was a very painful moment for both of us. And both of us struggled and suffered in our own way. Both of us have trauma in our own way. And, this has been one of my dreams, that maybe someday we can reconnect and hear each other with no judgment and just empathize with each other. But that was just like a short story I just shared with you from Kashmir. But yeah, Raj, I wanted to become a doctor right from the get-go since I was a preschooler. And I don't know why, it was just something that I always wanted to do. I used to play as a little girl and pretend that I have a stethoscope and I'm writing prescriptions and giving away medications. So we used to do that role playing as little children. But as I grew up and I went to med school, my first priority, or rather my passion, was to become a surgeon. And I just was a little bit of an overachieving kid, and I wanted to get the job done. So surgery was something that used to give me a lot of pleasure, because you would just like cut the gallbladder and the person would be all good, and you would suture him up and it was all done. And now that I came to America, my husband he's an interventional cardiologist, and he's a very busy.
Okay.
So I'm my daughter, and I knew that, I wanted to be there for my child. And now I had two options. I had to find this right sort of a work-life balance. And I said, okay, it's going to be either psychiatry or pathology. I didn't want to handle the dead people. So I said, I'm going to do the psychiatry. And Rod, this is funny. As I started doing psychiatry, my listening skills were very poor, because I was that girl, remember, who just wanted to get the job done, cut the stuff, suture it up. And as I'm doing psychiatry, all I'm doing is asking my other colleagues, say, do you need a blood draw for a patient? So I would just go from a patient to patient and do the blood draw. And that used to give me a sense of like, oh, I did something. But over a period of time, the psychiatry taught me something that I'm so thankful for my profession. It really taught me the power of listening, because I just had to do nothing, sit there in front of the patient and listen to him, listen and empathize without saying much. And that was just one of the magical things, and something I'm really, truly indebted with. I'm still working on it. There are still moments that I notice that I will jump in and try to give advice to my patients, because that surgeon is still inside me. But I try my best to back off, try to stay silent, try to listen. And this listening power and being a psychiatrist, learning how to empathize with my patients also helped me to become a better person, become a better mom, a better wife. So wow. I'm thankful.
Kind of like a short documentary, like a small journey as to, I don't know if it was your parents who pushed you to become a physician, but again, thank you for sharing about this particular story, right from your friend from school to your husband being an intervention cardiologist. I guess, again, mostly it's our family members, or it could be our grandparents. It could be somebody from the family who push you to become what you are in life. But thank you. Over to you, Sneha.
Yeah, since we're talking about journeys, so do you think that mental health is a goal or a destination that can be achieved, and it's like a one or done thing, or is it like a continuous journey throughout our lives?
Yes, Sneha, I sometimes feel like mental health should be a goal, but it truly is a journey. When I mean goal, I can't have a goal that, okay, I am like in 1 year, my mental health is going to be perfect. No. But when I mean a goal, means like to care for my mental health is going to be my goal. And I think if we as individuals can have this goal every single day, like if every single day, at the end of the day, if we can take a moment and just do a little bit of a self-talk and say, what did I do today for my mind? Did I take care of my mind? Did I take a break? Did I overstress myself? Did I put too much on my plate? Was I mindful? Was I grateful for things I have? And if so, what can I do tomorrow to take better care of my mind? So it should be a goal every single day, but it's going to be your journey for almost till the day you die. It is your journey to take care of your health, your physical health, your loved ones, to learn from different experiences, to get up from your failures, from your disappointments, and be kind to yourself. It is your journey. So yes, it's both a goal and a journey.
So yeah, and on your website, I was looking through it, and there's a video series on stress management, and in it you mention a switch for stress in our brains. Can we speak more about that?
Oh, yes, Neha. This is my favorite part. I volunteer as a coach counselor for a IT company. I mean, they have branches in different parts of the world, but because they're computer guys, so I was always kind of trying to teach them about stress and about the brain in the form of a computer. Because I tell you, I mean, truly, your brain is really a computer. There are chips for every little thing. I mean, I'll give you an example. When a person is under anesthesia, if a surgeon stimulates an emotional center of the brain, a person on the table who is completely unconscious will either cry or smile. If he stimulates that chip of the brain, which is responsible for moving his arm, and he stimulates that with a little forceps, he will move his arm without knowing it. So that's how your brain is. It's really a computer chip. And everybody probably has same sorts of chips, but maybe different programming, but they're same sorts of chips. So yes, your brain, there is a chip for stress in your brain. And if you look at my stress series, which I've prepared, I'm trying my best to help people understand that this stress that you feel in your body, and when you, like, how do you say I'm stressed? You say I'm stressed because you're feeling your heart's going really fast. You feel like an elephant sitting on your chest. You are breathing very fast. You feel tension in your muscles. You feel so upset and so tense, and your consciousness is clouded. You can't see things clearly. You can't concentrate. And you know that something isn't right in my body. And then you say, oh my gosh, I just feel so stressed. You're angry, you're irritated, you're annoyed, you're yelling at your children. So why do you go in this state? The reason you go in this state is because this little chip in your brain has been stimulated, has been activated. And that little chip is what we call amygdala. Amygdala is that stress portion of your brain. And there's a reason God put this amygdala in your brain. And that's what I talk about in the stress management series. The reason he put this amygdala in your brain is because he wanted to protect you from the bad things on the planet. For example, you see like a bear in front of you. So this amygdala really gets stimulated, and God wanted you to run away from the bear.
Yeah, the kind of fight or flight response from...
Like if, God forbid, a tree falls on you, God didn't want you to just sit there and let the tree fall on you. He wanted you, right? He wanted your body to get all activated and heart going fast so that you could run and save yourself. So this is normal. This is a protective mechanism. So then why? When everything is fine, there are no wild animals around you, nothing is falling on you, there is no lightning and storms happening, why does your amygdala still get activated? And you know why it gets activated? When there is really no threat. The reason it gets activated is because we humans sometimes perceive normal things as dangers. And those things are, one, if your child gets not an A grade and he gets a B grade, you see it as a threat. You feel like, I'm a terrible parent. I didn't do a good job. What am I going to tell my family, that my child got a B grade? So you feel it as a danger. And it's like as if a tree is falling on you, right? But in reality, there is no tree falling on you. For God's sakes, your child just got a B grade. That's it. But we perceive it as end of the life, a threat. And bad parents, terrible parents. And there you go. Your amygdala gets activated, and that your body prepares to either fight it or just run away from it, up until you do a little self-talk and you tell yourself, hey, wait a minute. My child just got a B grade. I'm going to talk to my child. I'll figure it out. I'll help him. He'll do his homework. I'll get some tutoring. Maybe he'll improve on his grade. And that's when your amygdala quietens down and your amygdala says, okay, I got it. I got it. No tree is falling. There is no bear. There is no lightning. The child just got a B grade. That's about it. And then that's when your body relaxes. But in order to do that self-talk, you have to first be aware of what happened. Why did my amygdala get activated? And that's a part of that mental health. And that is, again, being aware of what's going on, taking a little break and thinking what is a real danger and what is just a false alarm, a perceived danger. So that's important for us. And sometimes we have to do years of therapy to get there. And that's
Yeah, I definitely believe that there is a chip for the stress in our brain. Now that you explained, I was a little skeptical, probably that could be the theory, but that's true. The way you put it again, in terms of God created that for a reason. This also reminds me of in one of our meetings yesterday, being Friday. Every end of the week we have a meeting, and there's one of our team members who are supposed to share their screen, and they share their screen talking about the changes in the resourceful guide. And I see Netflix with a small shadow popping out. And like, I was so stressed. Whoa, this person is watching Netflix and share the screen. But again, on a resourceful guide, what if the CEO sees the Netflix bar there? And that's also like stress at workplace. When somebody shares something, again, when the CEO and the board is in the meeting, is another thing. Thankfully, that notification bar of Netflix with a small shadow was there only for less than 10 seconds. But I was under deep stress when I saw that, because everybody was watching that, watching the screen, talking about the change in colors on the resourceful guide. But thank you so much for sharing that, Najmun. Apart from the child perspective, achieving grades, we've seen so many, again, in clients or in clinicians, you might have seen so many examples with terms of physician burnout. Yeah, Sneha, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so in our conversation so far, it feels like all we've spoken about is mental health, like that's in our control. Like we control our state of mental health, but the society around us affects us as well, and societal like institutions in place affect our mindset as well. But on the flip side, these same institutions can help us, make our better our lives, better our mental health states. So so in America, like what are the changes you would like to see in the mental health infrastructure?
Well, listen, this is a wonderful question, Sneha. And again, I mean, as hard as this pandemic has been, as much of a devastation as it has caused, I think it has left us with some amazing life lessons. Some of the things that I'm seeing in America right now is like, wow, how did that happen? I am so happy that this is being done. And this was something that was not being done before the pandemic. What I see is so many organizations. I mean, I know I can share with you like my own hospital system, my husband's hospital system. I know we used to have an employee assistant program where there was probably like one counselor, and I'm not even sure if there was a psychiatrist. But after the pandemic, everything changed because there was so much of a burnout. There were nurses were getting affected, the doctors were getting affected. There was like a state of panic. And that was affecting the productivity of people. People were dying right and left. And there was a ton of trauma in the hospitals. The hospital leadership people actually did a great job. So they quickly took over. They established these support groups. They hired new counselors. They activated their own behavioral health department, and they started providing free counseling options. They started, in fact, encouraging people, employees, doctors, nurses, come over to the support group. I mean, I remember I myself took an initiative, and we found a support group for not just the docs, the nurses, but even the staff on the front desk. And it was amazing. The amount of support that support group gave them was, I mean, I can't even, I'm getting like a little bit of goosebumps to explain that how gratifying it was. People coming together, talking about their emotions, sharing their personal stuff, and how much it helped them not just to become strong teams, but function, become effective. And to a lot of extent, the stigma we had on the mental illness, I see it's substantially gone from this to this. People are speaking up. I mean, I can tell you about my husband. I'm just so proud of him that recently he had an incident with one of his patients who unfortunately had a untimely death. And my husband, I noticed that he and his team were getting affected, that why couldn't we save a life? And I was so proud of him that he picked up the phone, he called the counseling center of his hospital, and he said, listen, we need to talk. So he, his fellows, and other members of the team actually spoke with the counselor, and the counselor gave them tips like how to handle it, how to manage it. And they said, you're here, we're here for you, you can come, you can call us anytime. I think that is phenomenal. I don't think we would have ever gotten there had we not had a pandemic. And I'm not just seeing it in hospitals, I'm seeing it in IT companies and tech companies. You know how we're talking about emotional intelligence and all. I mean, emotional intelligence is mental health. It is about taking care of your feelings and your emotions. And I see tech companies are hiring consultants and counselors and coaches to teach their employees emotional intelligence, which is basically to take care of your mental health. I think this is amazing. This is truly a breakthrough, and for good. As much as we're sending Teslas into the Mars, but I think we're also helping people to stay grounded on Earth, which is so important, so important. So yes, I think we need to do more of that, and we need to continue it even after the pandemic is over. But as a psychiatrist, I feel happy.
Thank you, Dr. Najmun Riyaz. In fact, okay, finally I was able to connect to Facebook Live. Again, this is our first Facebook Live through Zoom, but thank you for anybody watching out there. Do share in your comments, do share in your feedback about Mental Health Awareness Month. We are with Dr. Najmun Riyaz on speaking about how to handle mental health. It's not only Awareness Month, but there is also an action towards it. We all know that we celebrated Mental Health Action Day on 20th of May. So Sneha, we are in a conversation with Dr. Najmun Riyaz on what it takes to handle during this post-pandemic world. People, there's lots of stress on vaccination. There's lots of stress on how things are shaping up, working at life, kids not going to school, the kind of stress which we all have in our lives. We were discussing about the stress in our lives, again, the kind of journey which Dr. Najmun Riyaz had been through in the past for last couple of decades. So over to you, Sneha. Please do share in your feedback in the comments. If you have any questions, please share that in the comments too. Sneha, over to you. Thank you.
Sure. So on with our questions. I mean, since you were talking about, since you're talking about your husband finally feeling ready to open up, I feel like, do you feel that mental health is a gendered issue? Like, I understand that there's been a history of women being ignored and like women being misdiagnosed with mental health disorders, but I feel like women are at least, we are allowed to be emotional, right? We are allowed to talk about it. We have like our sisters or our mothers or like our friends, but I feel like men do not have that outlet. Like I feel like men aren't, in many cultures, like especially in India and patriarchal cultures like ours, men are supposed to be strong and emotionless, and they're not allowed to have that emotional outlet. And that so how do you feel that has that changed, and what is the what are your feelings around that?
Fantastic question, Sneha. You are so right. And let me be honest with you, as developed as countries like America, Europe, UK are, but I think we see a same trend. Unfortunately, over the years, we have had developed this mindset where men are taught to be like macho, meaning like they said, like, hey, you are a strong man. You can't express your emotions. You got to fix things. They're very concrete. And this is a very common saying, even in America. It happens even now.
Hey, boys don't cry. Yeah.
Boys don't cry. Well, wait a minute. Why would boys not cry? Do they not have eyes? Do they not have lacrimal glands? Do they not have an emotional center? No, they don't come with any different chips. They don't come with any different brain. Yes, there are subtle differences between how men think and women think, but they are same. They are same people. They are human beings. They have same emotions. They have same needs. But you are right, because the culture has created the stereotyping, and as a result, a lot of our men are suffering. They are suffering in silence. And unfortunately, depression in men a lot of times presents as anger. And you know why? Because men's anger is portrayed to be a sign of strength. That's what our movies do. Maybe not now, but in my childhood, all the Bollywood movies showed the angry young man. And in fact, I remember, me as a little girl, even I used to fantasize my husband's going to be this angry young man. But I'm glad he wasn't, and I'm thankful that but you're right. So anger was the only acceptable emotion for the man. But in reality, that anger was a sign of depression. This poor man was suffering and struggling from inside, and it still happens in America and any other developed part of the world. And you're right when you said that, women, well, I'll tell you this. The difference between the mental health in women and men is that, no, women are not overdiagnosed. Not at all. No. In fact, mental illness is still underdiagnosed. Many women with depression and anxiety are ignored, and they are thought like, they're just attention seekers. That's not true. That's not true. Women who ever want some sort of attention are really struggling. But the good thing about the women is because, again, they're emotional beings, and they open their vulnerability. And also, to a lot of extent, society has encouraged that, right? How our Bollywood actresses, they can cry and they can, do whatever, and that's all acceptable, right? So that is all encouraged, and that actually helps them to express their emotions, and that sort of makes them not prone to severe form of depression and anxiety. So they will come, they'll seek help, they'll go to a counselor. Not all, but as compared to men, more so. But men, unfortunately, are really struggling and suffering from inside, which leads to anger, that leads to trauma, and they become perpetrators of violence, meaning because they have underlying depression or mental health issues, and all they'll beat their wives, they'll beat their children. Some of them will resort to substance because they don't like to feel sad and depressed and angry and miserable and alone from inside. So what do they have access to? What is something that society has made acceptable? Alcohol, drugs. So they'll go ahead and they'll use that. And guess what? That further devastates them. So the mental illness is left on the side, and they go on to the road of addiction. And then you know how that rips the families apart. So I think we as society should encourage, and I know things are changing in India, and I know a lot of people are coming out and speaking about their mental illness. I think men should be encouraged right from the fact when they are little boys, and especially moms. It's a duty and a responsibility of moms. When your son comes home and cries, give him a hug, let him cry, and tell him, I'm here for you. What's bothering you? You look upset. You look sad. Acknowledge his emotions, and then help him, give him words to talk about what's making him upset, what's making him sad. I think that's very important. It's important that we need to acknowledge and respect all forms of emotions. You know how happiness is acceptable? Mommy is happy, daddy is happy when the child is happy. Rota hai bacha, when I'm speaking in Hindi, you cry, "Are nahi, rona nahi hai. Bacche rote nahi hai. You don't cry, you don't." So the poor kid goes like, okay, I can't be sad. I shouldn't be sad. But you're a human being, for God's sakes. You will be sad. When you are sad, after sadness, you feel happiness. You can't feel happiness if you don't feel other emotions. So yes, acknowledge your emotions. Allow your child to feel every sort of emotion and help him, give him words. I see you're angry. Beta, I see you're angry.
And Najmun, could you also relate this to in terms of job search? Because there are lots of jobs which were lost in the pandemic. Lots of clinicians who also looking for part-time jobs, per diem or locums, locum tenens. As we are at DirectShifts, what we do is we connect clinicians to employers. We help all the clinicians out there with the kind of AI job board which we have. We are a tech-enabled staffing firm. So we help clinicians get, probably if they have a couple of more hours left during the week, we help them, other hospitals fill those positions. So in terms of job search, how do we correlate this? Because people are not getting the right kind of jobs. People are losing their jobs. There's no offices open. Everybody's working from home, but there are lots of cut down on the salaries or the kind of incentives which they would benefit from. How would we correlate this to that in terms of job search or in terms of staffing in healthcare? The kind of stress.
If I heard you correct, Raj, are you saying like because of these layoffs and job losses, how is that causing stress in folks? Is that what?
That's right. Like the way you correlated a child coming from school expressing his emotions. Normally, as an employee who had been fired or who had lost his work or who had lost whatever the job which he had hand, the kind of stress which is there. Again, a child can express his emotions, but there were great insights in which what you had shared, because you mentioned like, okay, men, they suppress their emotions, and due to which that causes depression, and they get to go for substance abuse and all that. But in terms of staffing, in terms of healthcare staffing and recruitment, are there any few instances, like are there any friends of yours or colleagues of yours who had been laid or who was working on stress in terms of work?
Oh, absolutely, Raj. I mean, you saw that pandemic created havoc. I mean, in fact, I'll tell you, like, most of our clients that we used to see in clinics were, people who were either on disability. But after the pandemic, we saw an enormous raise in people like you and me, people who had jobs and were laid off. So now not only were they worried about their health, but they were worried about their finances. And I can understand, Raj, like especially for men, who tend to establish their identity with their jobs. So once there was a job loss, a pay cut, a layoff, I mean, you can imagine how devastating that must have been for many folks. I mean, women, more so for men who are, like in countries like India, the only breadwinners. So it probably must to them have felt like end of their existence. And then they come home, and then if they don't have support at home, I mean, can you imagine the level of stress, the level of anxiety, the level of depression, the level of failure that particular person must be feeling? And if you don't have support at home, what is this person going to do? I can only imagine. I mean, I know in America, we saw that there was definitely a rise in alcoholism. People who went through these financial difficulties, job losses, did resort to drinking. I mean, some of the good ones, or some of the ones who wanted to, use healthier coping mechanisms, did go talk to a counselor, sought counseling, and with the help of counseling and coaching, some of them were able to create new things for themselves. And actually, that's what pandemic did, is it just brought this flood of creativity and entrepreneurs. People started finding different outlets, different ways to make jobs. And in fact, the online thing, the internet became the source of income for many folks.
Yeah, the teletherapy and remote therapy. Yeah.
That or whatever new businesses popped up, I mean, you can hear like people started who were working in tech fields and healthcare. They started opening businesses. They had hobbies and they started making hobbies into their jobs. But not a huge group of people have that much strength and courage. There are still some who struggled enormously. And again, it was very important for them to seek help. And thank God, now things are getting good on this side. But for people with India and all, I just want to give them hope, because remember, everything ends. I know this is very hard time for everybody. You're losing your loved ones, your jobs, but guess what? Just hold on there for a little bit longer. Be patient. Try your best to do whatever you can for you during your day. This will end, just like it's ending here. The vaccines or whatever you're doing, it will end, and the day will come that will come out of it much stronger, much resilient. So we just
Yeah.
have to be more patient.
Thank you, Najmun.
Yes. So since we're all at home and not everyone has access to therapy or mental health care, what can people do at home to deal with mental health issues? Like, are there any tips and tricks, or like meditation or some things like that? How can we treat ourselves in absence of medication or professional help?
That's a great question, Sneha, and I'm happy you're asking me this, because I always want to share with folks and give them some tools that they can have to not just survive but thrive. Things like a pandemic. So yes, there are lots of things you can do, and it all depends on how severe your stress is, your anxiety is. So some of the simple things that we can do, like very simple things, is to take it a day at a time. Try to stay in the moment. If we start worrying, like if, say, for example, today I am home under the lockdown. If I worry, oh, what's going to happen tomorrow? What if my father gets sick? What if my mom catches a virus? What if my child catches? What if I lose my job? What if this happens? Then guess what? It's all we call it snowballing. Our anxiety is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we won't be able to function. So keep it simple. Stay in the moment. And when I mean stay in the moment, just think of today. Just today. Just say, okay, what am I going to do now? Right now, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea. Right now, I know I don't have a virus. Right now, I'm going to go watch some TV. Right now, I'm going to go make some pakoras for myself. Okay. So stay in the moment. And the max you can do is like structure your day. Keep a routine. Say, all right, maybe I'll do prayer 2 times a day. Maybe right now I'm feeling a little bit anxious. Maybe I'm just going to go sit with myself in a quiet room and do some meditation. And again, I know meditation is this big term, and you don't have to sit like a Buddha to do a meditation. You can just sit by the window and just watch outside. Just watch the traffic go, watch the birds, watch the grass, watch the sky, or you can listen to some music, whatever kind of music is it. You can even sit on a couch and watch a Netflix movie, for God's sakes. Even these very simple little things. And when the day is over, at the end of the day, before you go to bed, thank your Almighty, your Bhagwan, your Allah, whoever you believe. Thank your Almighty that today you were okay. And if you're okay, if your family is okay, thank God for that. So be grateful for very little things. Be grateful for a home you have, water you drink, a meal you have. So what I'm trying to say is, I know it sounds like philosophical, but trust me, if you do these very simple and little things, the days will go, weeks will go, months will go, the time will come, this pandemic will be over, you'll be safe, you'll go back to a normal life. And lastly, please take care of yourself. Shower on time, change into some nice clothing, even if you're staying home.
Yeah, the self-compassion, yeah.
Absolutely. And don't be hard on yourself, please. Don't push yourself into, oh, galti ho gayi, I made a mistake, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. Absolutely not. Just like you're kind to everyone else, please be kind to yourself. Forgive yourself more than you forgive others. So again, showing that self-compassion, self-care, and yes, if you can incorporate a little bit of exercise, you don't have to go to the gym, just a little walk in a living room, very simple things. More important, play with your child. How about that? If you have a child, just play with it like a game of carom board or watch a little show with your child. The pleasure and happiness that you'll get, trust me, is way more than you will get going on a vacation to Disney, at least during the time of the pandemic. So keep it simple and be grateful. So that's the advice I have.
Yeah. So yeah, so now that we're talking about self-care, it's like what can we do for self-care? Those are like simple things. Like you mentioned, keeping it simple, yes. So, but in today's world, self-care, like in this capitalistic, hyper-consumerist world, like self-care has been, it's like linked to all these luxurious items. And like, if you don't have all these luxurious items, you're not really doing self-care right, are you? And like it's you, like especially with Instagram and all that, like everybody's like posting all these, you don't really need those things, but it's like they market it as necessities. So how do you like get past all that, and how do we break free from that consumerist mindset?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And I know I see my colleagues and I see my friends and they see these Instagram videos and they go like, oh my gosh, a friend of mine just lost 100 pounds. How did she do that? How is she eating this keto diet? And then everyone's going crazy on this TikTok. So listen, of course, self-care is very important. And when we mean self-care, we kind of talk more about like a physical care, meaning, waking up on time, taking a shower, wearing clothes, exercising, drinking, eating on time, giving yourself a little breaks. That's all good. I want to give you guys a little bit of a recognition of going a little deeper with self-care. And that little deeper is self-compassion. And the most important part of self-compassion is to be able to set healthy boundaries for yourself and for others around you. So, and here is the thing. So whenever you notice that you are going into this vicious, toxic cycle of getting not just inspired by these social media posts and Instagram or whatever, but also worrying and comparing yourself to them and saying, my gosh, if she can do it, why can't I do it? How come he is doing, she is doing, and I'm not? There you go. That's when you need to put a full stop and stop looking at those social media posts. Stop looking at that Instagram and stop even commenting. Don't comment. No, because you're not there. You're not ready. And again, be kind to yourself. Don't push yourselves too hard. Don't be unkind. Don't beat yourself for not being as thin as this woman, not as beautiful as this woman, not having a house as good as your friend, a good car as good as. Nope. That is your challenge. Put a stop right there and then, and put up a healthy boundary for you and between others. Get off of that WhatsApp group that is causing you and making you feel you're less than. Because no one is less than. No one. Your journey is separate than other person's journey. You are your own person. Be self-aware. Find who you truly are. What is it that gives you happiness? By becoming thin, is that what it gives you happiness? And what is it about becoming thin that gives you happiness? So that you can go to a party and wear, or because you want to be healthy. If you want to lose weight because you want to be healthy, that's all good. That's your journey. There is no need for you to, there is no comparison, none whatsoever. So again, put that boundary on yourself and hang out with people who you feel emotionally connected with, who give you a feeling that you are good enough. If you can have that connection, if you can have those groups, then guess what? You're in a good place. So that's important.
So like we were talking about groups, right? And like we are social animals, but in an individualistic culture like America, like how do people like are they like rediscovering how important community is? Because in India, like family is like so important, but in America it's not the same, I feel like, as long as I've seen in media and stuff. So like are they rediscovering the importance of family and community?
Yes, so right, Sneha. Again, this is a silver lining to this pandemic. This pandemic taught us people in modern cultures who unfortunately did not value friendships, connections, connections, and family. We didn't value it because we were just so busy having fun. We wanted nothing to do with our neighbors. We don't care who's in the neighborhood. We don't, because we're so busy. We have jobs, we have to go on vacations, we have to go on dinners. But the pandemic put a stop on that. And I can give you an example, my own example. When pandemic happened and we were all under lockdown, all of a sudden we felt this need to connect with our neighbors. And one day we all came out in our front porch, and you'll be surprised, we've been living here for like 15 years. We did not know people down 2 homes. And I felt embarrassed that I'd never got a chance to reach out to my neighbor who is just 2 homes down the lane I which live in. And the pandemic was the first time that I ever connected with that neighbor. I think, as I said, this taught us all a huge lesson. The fact that in America, children could not see their elderly parents in nursing home, that was a huge thing. And then amazing things happened. Amazing how children found out different ways to go and connect with their older parents. They gave iPads, and they would go out and make signs and stand outside the nursing homes and tell them how much they love them. So that gave us a huge reflection and it literally shook us and showed us that how important social connections are. They're truly important. I know I'm kind of going off the topic here, but I want to share this. I'm reading a book by this Dr. Sanjay Gupta. I'm sure you know this, and it's called Keep Sharp. And it's about, dementia and how to keep your brain alive. And I was amazed to hear, and I always thought that one of the ways to prevent Alzheimer's is by doing crossword puzzles. I thought that you have to keep your brain active. But he shows an amazing research and says, yeah, you can do a crossword puzzle, but more important, if you can go and pick a phone and talk to your friend, that actually prevents Alzheimer's. I was amazed at that. So yes, I think people in India are lucky and blessed, or even in other countries, that we have this amazing social connection. And I know right now it's a pandemic, and and there are so many people cooped up in one home, and I know it's unfortunately making more people, the virus to spread, but and we have to do our best to maintain that social distance. But I think at the end of the day, we being able to be there for each other, this is a pure blessings. That's what human beings were created. A human being is a caveman. You were created to be in a community, but the modernization prevented us and just gave us egos and made us become solo. Leave me alone. I am busy. But the social connection is so important if we have to thrive. So yes.
Another fact is, like, on social media, people are not social because of our busy lives, which you mentioned. Again, it's a altogether a different story when it comes to teens. Again, all the users who are on Snapchat or all the other tools where we don't spend most of our time, be it at Modo, or it's like Facebook. We know the world of Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. But for children, I see both my kids, 9 and 10-year-old, they're on Roblox, where all the other children play games live, but it's altogether a different world. There's so many things which we can speak about, but thank you for sharing the insights. Again, sharing stories from your personal lives also, Najmun. Yes, Neha.
Yeah. So we've spoken so much. Like, how are there any tools like we can use to better our mental health? Like, any tools, mental tools that we can use to help better our mental health?
Definitely, social media is not one of the tools, I should say, because it's increasing or accelerating our mental health, comparing ourselves. But we would love to hear it from you. Prayer is one among them, like the way you shared your story from childhood. But we'll wait to hear from you. Najmun? What are the mental health tools? Even I need them. I've been through lots of things in the last 30 days. So do let us know.
Yeah, that totally, Raj and Sneha. Listen, we're all human beings. We all have a mind. So whoever has a mind, which means all of us, need tools to maintain a proper mental health. So I think if there is one thing that I really want to lay stress, and that is look at the bigger picture. Whenever we go in a state of frenzy, anxiety, stress, look at the bigger picture. And when I mean look at the bigger picture, I mean be mindful. You know, you hear mindfulness. Oh, now I'm going to take a course on mindfulness and all. And that's all wonderful. But for me, mindfulness means to, again, stay in the moment and just be aware and reflect on what you have, how grateful you are, and look at the bigger picture. So again, in the bigger picture, if unfortunately you lost your job, when you look at the bigger picture, you see, okay, I know my job is very important for me. And I know right now I don't have it. But what is it that I have? I still have a loving family. I still have a home that I can go to. I still have food that I can eat. I still have a friend that I can talk to. And guess what? I'm still capable. I can go and find another job. It may take me a month, it may take me 2 months. Right now, I'll figure it out. I'll go have some savings. I'll maybe go ask for some loan from the bank or ask for some financial help from a friend, but I will be okay.
It reminds me of resilience from your blogs, which I read. In fact, from Dr. Najmunriyaz.com. This reminded me of resilience factor. So it's like appreciate self, what will bounce you back. So thank you. Please continue, Najmun.
Absolutely, Raj. Listen, I am a strong believer. I mean, I come from trauma. I mean, I've seen terrible things happen. I mean, I have witnessed, I mean, because of all the conflict in Kashmir, I have come very close to literally losing my life. Like when we used to go wait for school buses and all of a sudden a bomb would explode in front of us. And we were not sure if we would actually come home alive. So because we have seen the worst of the worst, so much of trauma, that sometimes helps me become more grateful of a person. And I sometimes go like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, the worst thing that'll happen is we'll die, right? And everyone has to die one day. And so what I'm trying to say is when we are mindful, when we see a bigger picture, it just helps us. It just helps us handle things better. So that is to me mindfulness. I'm also a very strong believer of prayer. You know why? Because, as psychiatrists, we've studied the human brain, and we know that at the end of the day, we are only like little specks. I mean, if you look at the big universe, like look at the universe. And in this universe, can you spot Earth? Earth is this little speck. And inside this little speck are we human beings. I mean, imagine how small and tiny we are. And yet our worries are bigger than the universe. So if you kind of look at that bigger picture, I doubt you'll get anxious and stressed out when, the Zoom link doesn't work. Although we will, let's be honest, we'll be human beings. But when my Zoom link don't work and I go like, wait a minute, I'm this little speck in the universe and my Zoom link isn't working, who cares? You know what I'm saying? So by doing this, we're, again, trying to remove that weight on us. We're trying to remove the stress on us. And it just makes things easier. Gratitude, practice gratitude. Again, be grateful. And when I mean grateful, if you have children, enjoy them for God's sakes. Today is what you have. When I say play a little game with your child, that is the effect of that is like more than 100 antidepressants, honestly. So these little things, and as I said in the prayer, because we're as humans, we're in control of very little things, very little things. So when you are not in control of things, go ahead and pray, whatever that form of prayer is, whether that's meditation or whether, you pray in front of Bhagwan or you do a prayer as a Muslim. Try to incorporate that. I'm a real big fan of that. And other than that, again, just be kind to yourself. Don't push yourself for making mistakes. Consider mistakes and failures as opportunities. You will be amazed to see that it's the mistakes you make, it's the failures that you have that actually help you grow, that actually show you how capable you are. Because when things are okay, you don't know what's your capability. It's only when you fail, that's when you find your true power, your true capability. So yeah, be flexible, be open-minded, express your emotions and don't care what others think. Yeah, that's one thing I wish I could tell my fellow Indians. Don't care what others think. Just be yourself. I know it's very hard.
What about boss? As in, I am listing out the things again. The one question which I have, Najmun, is like, what if I'm an atheist? But I'll come to that. So being mindful, prayer, being kind to self, attitude of gratitude. So I'm just trying to list down all the things which you mentioned, because this could be an awesome short social media story bite. So going through the things, what if I'm an atheist? What if I don't believe in prayers?
Well, then believe in yourself.
What if I'm not kind to myself? Because I know lots of data analysts, people who work not only in healthcare staffing and recruitment, all they care is numbers, all they care is the Excel data sheets. But as a psychiatrist, as you know, some people don't afford therapy. Some people can't afford counseling. That's when they miss out on great insights like this. So I completely agree with what you mentioned, being kind to self, but where should the breakthrough come? Like definitely, maybe it's more of they talking or being a therapist or a counselor, probably a doctor like you who would listen to them, or where would the breakthrough happen?
See, Raj, this is what I believe. I'm a firm believer that every human being has come on this earth with a purpose. Every human being has come on this earth with a purpose.
Okay.
No one can tell him what that purpose is. You don't know my purpose. I don't know your purpose. The only person who knows your purpose is you. That's it. So you are a mystery in itself. Now, here's the deal. Like Raj may choose to find his purpose. He may say, hey, no, if I came on this earth, or I mean, whoever, like maybe I was created or whatever, I want to find my purpose. That's fine. Then go find it. And you will find it. If you have a conviction, then you will find it. You'll go, you'll do some Google search, you will read, you will meditate, you'll go on the cave, you'll go volunteer. You will do whatever you have to do to find the purpose. You know why? Because you want to. And Najmun came on this world with some purpose, but guess what? Najmun doesn't care. She doesn't want to find her purpose. She was born, she lived, and she'll die. And that's it. And then whatever legacy she leaves, but that's her journey. And that's okay. You're not responsible. You can't force Najmun to find her purpose, can you? No, she doesn't care. She doesn't want to find her purpose, and that's her thing. So I may just live on this life, a miserable life, and not know why the hell I'm here, and that's my journey. But Raj wants to know his purpose. So listen, at the end of the day, Raj, everything is okay. Because this is a journey from birth to death. Whoever wants to do whatever with this journey is their baby. It's their problem, their choice. We are only in control of us, period.
Yeah, most of us find our purpose through whatever the passion which we have, but thank you, Najmun. Sneha, over to you.
Yes, I fear I've run out of questions for today, but yeah, um, yeah, I mean, we've covered such a breadth of questions. It's lovely. Like we did all the clinical side of things, or we did all the philosophical side of things. I really like how this conversation is about. It's really nice. I really like the question Raj asked about being atheist, because yeah, I mean, I feel like we need to other tools other than prayer, and like yeah, other for people who aren't religiously inclined. So that was a nice inclusion. So yes, Raj, over to you if you have
Okay.
any questions.
Yeah, so probably we'll end this in a couple of more minutes. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Najmun Riyaz, for sharing your valuable time with our audience, with our set of clinicians. We will definitely put it in one of our newsletters and send it across as a link. I'll also share the recordings with you. You can also watch this on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I'll share you the recordings. So before I jump into the last set of questions, probably we can call it like a quick fireside chat or a quick fun chat, Najmun. So you can just give one word answers or something, which is again as per the list which I've already sent you. So if healthcare, or if you are not supposed to be a physician, what would you be? What is the other profession would you choose?
Yeah, that's a good one. Because as I said, as long as I kind of gained consciousness, I remember always wanting to be a doctor. However, as I raised my children, I really love being a teacher. And if I had a choice, I'd like to be like an elementary school teacher. I love to.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, that's beautiful. So, in case if there's one thing which you had known, if you wish you had known at the beginning of your career, being a psychiatrist, what is that one thing you wish you had known?
Yeah, so when I began psychiatry, I thought that psychiatry basically means treating mental illnesses. But as I, started talking to people, I noticed that psychiatry is way more than mental illness, treating mental illness or knowing about mental illness. I think psychiatrists can really be a confidant. A psychiatrist has a potential to be that good listener to a client and be his support person. A psychiatrist can be a coach, which I did not know, because in our profession we usually don't give advice. It's always about listening and basically just talking about the illness and giving medications. But throughout my practice, and I'm thankful for my patients who taught me that to be able to establish that connection and learn more about a human behavior and coach them and be their confidants. I think that's something I did not know, that we psychiatrists have an ability to do that. So I'm thankful for that. Yeah.
Okay, and are there any great resources or that helped you become this? With respect to this particular journey, or are there any resources would you like to share with a young psychiatrist or somebody who wants to become a licensed counselor, or probably somebody who is getting their space into the world of becoming a therapist? Are there any resources which had helped you, which you would like to share?
Yeah, it all depends on what your niche is. If you want to be a counselor, a therapist, I guess just again do some Google search and find some programs out there. But first, again, do a little self-talk as to why you want to be a counselor. And most likely it's because you want to help people. I can tell you in my journey, I think, Raj, one of the things that really helped me the most, not only through my profession, but even in my personal life, was going into therapy myself. There have been moments in my life when I had challenges in my personal life, like be it the loss of my dad or, just raising teenage children in a different culture, because I was raised in India and all. So I approached counselors, and being in therapy has really helped me become who I am, helped me with my self-awareness, helped me with my emotional regulation, because coming from a trauma-rid area sometimes makes our emotions, we can really go on a scale of 1 to 10, like up and down. So for my own emotional regulation, to manage my own anxiety, my own stress, I think counseling is something that really helped me enormously. Through our supervision, we have doctors and counselors who help us to handle our own emotions, and I think that's one of the best part of the psychiatry. So when you talk about resources, I mean, if I would say, if anybody can afford and has an access to a counselor, please go see one. It's a misnomer. You don't see a counselor because you're crazy. I don't like to use this word, but that's not true. You go into counseling to find yourself, to know who you are. What are your limitations? What are your strengths? To grow. That's why you go into counseling. So if you can, I would highly recommend you do that. But the rest, there are so many books. I go to websites, Brene Brown. There are some resources if you go on my website, and those are like I really look up to them, and they inspire me. There's some amazing materials if you guys want to go check it out. It's some great stuff out there. So
this would be the last question for the day. So I would request everybody go to drnajmunriyaz.com. Let me share this screen as well. So this would be the last question, Najmun. So who are the most 3 influential people in your life, apart from family members?
Are you sure? Because my family is my most influential.
Yeah, everybody says, most of our guests, with the kind of things which you mentioned, because the society considers there's lots of stigma around having therapy or counseling. And most of the clinicians whom we speak to, most of the speakers whom we speak to in the healthcare world, we had amazing guests from Harvard Medical School as well in the past with DirectShifts Stories. Again, it's a great honor you accepting our invite to be here. When we speak about the most influential people, we had the experience of bringing the family members, which is true. Definitely, our parents are the ultimate God, be it mom, dad, or be it our children. We just wanted to hear something different.
Very well. If you would have asked me this question a few years ago, I would name some, influential people, some politicians, some leaders. But over the years, Raj, I've noticed something. I've noticed that, we human beings are very imperfect. And yes, there are people who inspire us, but they're also human at the end of the day. And unfortunately, there are people who I have looked up to, but in later years, they have revealed their weaknesses. And then I go like, well, wait a minute, this person was my hero and now he's not. So that has given me a sense that, we all humans are imperfect. We have some areas which we can really be great at. We can thrive and we can set great examples. And yet we have weaknesses. We have certain areas that we're not very proud of. So I wish I could tell you, I can say that I am inspired by certain people's journey. I can say that, I'm really I'm inspired by Barack Obama's journey. I'm really inspired, as a single, as growing up in a multiracial family with a single mom, dad absent. I can imagine how much of a conflicts that person must have had internally, but how, I've read his books, but how through self-awareness and through growth and reflection and courage, he actually became what he is now. So I really am inspired by his journey, if that's what you mean. I'm really inspired by journey of Brene Brown. And again, most of the people know Brene Brown. I'm really inspired by her journey, how she overcame alcoholism, and through research found this amazing concept of vulnerability. Even that sort of, that gave me so much of new insights, like how You know how we are taught, like, oh, you should not tell your problems to anyone. You should not share that you have this weakness. But she, through her research, says that by sharing your vulnerability, you are actually making better human connections. You are becoming more courageous, and there's a higher chance of you to become more successful. So I'm really inspired by her journey. And I'm really inspired by Dan Gottlieb. I don't think you guys know him, but Dan Gottlieb he's an American psychologist, and he runs a program on the radio. He's a psychologist who has had he's a paraplegic. He had an accident, unfortunately, and his spinal cord got injured, and he's paralyzed neck down. And he shares his journey, that how by cutting down his ego, he actually became successful, because that's when he became successful. He is one of the best psychologists in America, and there is some of the resources. He's an amazing human being, and I'm blessed that I got a chance to even see him one day. But there is so much I have learned from him about the human side of every person. Lastly, I am very inspired and very thankful to my patients. My patients teach me some amazing things about life. I would never have been who I am today had it not been for my patients. So my patients inspire me, every single one of them.
Okay, with the last point, you again reminded me of Jeff Bezos, who speaks about his clients or his customers, all the Amazon customers. There's always an empty chair in the boardroom, and that chair is always represents the customers or the clients who are using Amazon as a product. But thank you so much. We're all grateful for our clients, or being a doctor, again, be it your patients. But thank you so much, Najmun. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sneha. Is there anything else which you'd like to share before we end this live?
Well, not really. I mean, thank you so much, Sneha. Thank you, Raj. I appreciate this. Listen, when you guys said that you were going to do this, I thought most of this was COVID related. I just want to share with my human fellows in India who are right now struggling. And I just want to tell you that our prayers are with you. Our heart goes out to you. We pray that this virus is contained. So again, please, take care of yourself. Take care of your families. This is hard time. Be patient. Take all precautions that you can, and please get vaccinated. That's the only way to get rid of the virus. And I can assure you, we in America went through horrible times. My family members got COVID. I got COVID myself. And thank God I survived. My family survived. But I know it's a hard time. But please keep up that hope. And rest, we'll all pray that may this end, and may everyone go back to their normal lives.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Najmun Riyaz. Thank you for sharing that. In fact, there's this fear which is crippling our growth thoughts, again, the way we look at life. But thank you for sharing that. Again, being vulnerable is something which I'll also get used to it. Thank you for sharing the insights. And for all the listeners, if you are watching the replay or if you're watching the social media bites, do share in your feedback. We'll wait to hear it from you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Raj. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you, Sneha.